G'day and welcome back to the OPL. We just saw the Chiefs take care of business, come in, pick up a 2-0 victory over Mammoth. I'm sure they're on their way to Hungry Jack's right now to grab a tasty snack. I'm still Spawn. This is Egypt. We've got another best of 3 coming your way. It is going to be Legacy taking on the Bombers. And I want to kick it off with Legacy, Bryce, straight away. Yep. Because this is a team that I had very high expectations on. They brought in my opinion, an upgrade in the jungle role, even though I love Sybil. And unfortunately, week 1 was not the performance they were looking for.
They got absolutely demolished by Chiefs. There's no real other way to put it there. The mid 2v2 Claire has been such a standout performer for Legacy for the entirety of the end of last year. And he looked super rough. Of course, there's a lot of kind of growing pains when you introduce a new jungler. It's one of the roles that changes the biggest dynamic when you introduce a new player into the team. Only on the scoreboard looked fine, but really was just nowhere near as impactful as Babip, and I think Legacy suffered.
And I think the big thing for me is this now looks like a very green lineup. Not in terms of the fact that they have green on their jersey.
Where are you going
But in terms of Carbon retired. Lost, who had been around for a year and a half, no longer there. They've now got rid of Sybil, who was another veteran. They are a very young lineup. I mean, Claire is the most experienced, and he is still a young kid, not the most vocal of shot callers out there. I think that they now have a point to prove that they can get back to their split 1 best.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We have Rift Rivals coming up, and I think Legacy going 0-2, and then today they're going to be tested against the Bombers as well. They don't really want to be starting the split 0-2, 0-2, 2 losses, especially with a big tournament like that coming up, whereas Chiefs and even the Direwolves have looked pretty strong this split already.
Yeah, of course, you can grab some tickets for Rift Rivals if you want. Bryce will come shake your hand afterwards. I will as well. Jasper will probably be there too. It's going to be great. Everyone's going to be in Sydney. And with that in mind, let's throw it over the Hangout because I'm sure they're going to plug it a little bit more.
It's plug time. Come to Rift Rivals. You can get tickets. How did they get tickets? I did this multiple times now. It's time for you.
Go on lowesports.com. Is that how you do it?
Oh, my God. Okay, I'm getting word that you're fired. I don't even know if you're employed here.
How did I got mine. I just Googled Rift Rivals.
Yeah, that's probably a good move. But you could get them for free if you make a sign to take to the event using the hashtag RRSign, submitted on Twitter. The best sign that you would hold up at Rift Rivals. It's all coming back now. Then the best sign picked will get 2 tickets to the event, which will be so much fun. Now, speaking of online, the German League of Legends Twitter account earlier this week posted an image of like 3 metal lion heads. Did you see this? And they're sort of morphing into a sword, and they're teasing that something is coming. This is along with the words, 2 forces collide once more. The lion demands an eternal reign. The wolf hungers for endless war. And then something about June 27th is when we'll know more. The internet is thinking this could either be a new champion. Do you reckon that's likely?
No.
We've just got Pike. Is it too early to be teasing this?
Yeah, it can't be a champion.
Reddit think it could be ultimate skins for Garen or Darius.
Yep.
Or it could be a new lore event. I personally think that the 3 lion heads is a clue that we're getting some epic crossover between League of Legends and The Witcher. And
wow. I love The Witcher.
Geralt is going to be the new champion coming to the game.
I would love that, but I don't think that's true.
Really? Let's break down why I think it's completely likely. One, there were lion heads, and that's kind of all I've got. He kind of wears like a lion head necklace thing. And I figure, if we did have Geralt, his ultimate is something like he just has a sexy bath with you, and that's the way that he wins the game. But if it was a skin for Garen, which we feel
anyone
like,
who played The Witcher would love that.
I think that's a joke for those people. Everyone else is like, who is this man and what is he talking about? But if it was a skin for Garen, what would you want it to be? What would you want new Garen to be?
New Garen? I don't. Garen's like a. Do they have an army one?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I mean, well, it could be any other country's army. Are there countries that multiple armies in the game? I feel like we could do that.
Well, I mean, like, because Garen is the lion in like what you're in the story you're telling, and then Darius is the wolf.
Yeah.
So I guess like maybe Garen is a lion. Like
I think that's a good one.
He just becomes a lion.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. I like to think he's cosplaying like a furry. Like he's got that sort of like he's got one of those cute hoodies and a tail and the massive just F-off sword as well. I think that would be awesome. What do you guys think? Because I've got mystery skins and hex chests and keys to give away. For your best answers, let us know in the chat or on Twitter using the hashtag IamOPL for your suggestions for what the best Garen skin could be, the best Darius skin, or just, you know, what they are adding to the game in general. I was talking to Bryce about this earlier on today. Bryce, you suggested that the 3 lions are actually a clue that they're stapling 3 lions to Garen.
Yeah, well, you actually said that. and then you said that they had a bear back, and I pointed out, you know, like, it's not just the lion and the wolf. You can have a bear, like, literally a bear. Like, I don't know, chuck in Udyr as well. We have Darius, we have Garen. Another champion. Maybe it's like a triple champion event, not just 2.
I would like to point out that there is actually a Reddit thread up that shows the new skins. And if anyone links them, I'm going to be extremely disappointed because that is obviously not the purpose of this segment. Draw something for us. Give us a unique idea. If you actually show me these skins from the game, I'll be a little bit salty.
That's bollocks. That's not how it's done.
However, we are getting into our second best of 3 of the night. It is going to be Legacy versus the Bombers. Let's break down the Bombers a little bit, Bryce, because this is a team that we've talked about it so much. Historic organization coming behind them. I was an Essendon Football Club member for the entirety of my life. Now supporting esports. They pick up Rosie as their captain, who has been a lifelong Essendon fan. They bring in 2 imports, Sleeping and Tiger.
So perfectly, by the way. Like the Rosie Essendon
absolutely.
Fan.
I mean, he even has red hair now.
Yep.
They bring in 2 imports that both looked very promising. However, the good news kind of ends there. Talk to me about this team. Talk to me about your expectations, where they're currently sitting, and what you think they need to change.
And I'm frustrated with this team, and I think they are as well. We had Windows Monkey talking about last week. They went to NA, they boot camped, and they worked on their team play. They came back. They feel like they worked on that, and it's really coming together. And they don't lack talent. Luch has been a mainstay mid laner in the OPL for a very long time that frustrates the other mid laner he plays against because of his style. Sleeping and Tiger, maybe it's changed now. Someone at home has been grinding it out and has taken rank 1 and 2 from them, but I checked it this morning. They're literally rank 1 and 2 in solo queue ladder, so they don't lack the individual talent. There's just something missing when this team tries to come together on stage and it just doesn't work.
And by the way, don't snake the OPL players' spots on solo queue while they're at the OPL.
Yeah, true.
Like, that's just... play on an alt for a little bit. You got to take it off when they're actually playing the game. If you're a solo queue player at home, high challenger, and you're queuing up to take their positions, once again, this is like the Reddit thread. I don't want to hear about it.
By the way, like technically that is the best time to do it because some of the best players just can't play. So you just get in worse games. You get to climb.
You want to earn it, Bryce. You want to feel like you earn it. However, let's bring the lineups up on your screen. On the blue side, it is going to be Legacy. They fly as 1. Mimic is their top laner, only their new jungler. Claire in the mid lane. Raiden Decoy are their very solid bot lane, and Soul Strikes is the big brain behind the squad. Of course, they're going up against the Essendon Football Club or the Bombers. This is the AFL off. We haven't even mentioned it. Sleeping in the top lane, Sev is their jungler. Luch in the mid lane, Tiger and Rosie 80 carry and support. Windows Monkey, their coach. And I think that both of these teams, resounding week 1 defeats against, you know, Chiefs and Mammoth respectively, both would be looking to come out and make a statement game right now. They want to crush.
They both have something very big to prove because, like, time is up, I think, for the Bombers to bring it all together. And Legacy really don't want to be that one split like Wonder. Of course, they've been like a mainstay organization, have been very successful. But with this roster, they don't want to be the team that had a very successful split. Nice gauntlet run, and then that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially going to Rift Rivals. They need to really start building right now, Legacy. I want to talk about the differences in the boot camp because you have been on both North American boot camps and Korean boot camps. And I feel like there is a nuanced difference because when you go to Korea, you don't get all that many scrims against Korean teams. Now, if you go to North America, challenger teams will scrim you. You know, even some LCS level teams will scrim you if you perform well enough. The boot camps serve different purposes.
You go to NA, you have contacts. Like it's one of the biggest things is it's straight up an English-speaking country. So getting contacts and organizing things with teams is much easier. And you can play scrims, you can work on your team play, things like that. That's exactly what we saw from the Bombers and what they said they got. A lot of teams don't even, sometimes in the off-season when they're making roster changes, just send their teams to Korea anyway to work on mechanical skill. Mimic, Legacy literally just from Korea, so he went home to practice in the off-season. Luckily for him, he's just playing in the best solo queue region ever. And so differing things come from those different styles.
And that's a big thing because Order obviously sent their team to Korea, and I have some insight into why that happened. And a lot of the reason behind that was because they felt they weren't playing on the edge. They wanted to take that next step individually, and they wanted to be able to really outshine opponents. And they felt that their team play, because they play a lot of I'm not going to call them head ramming comps, but a lot of engage heavy comps we might call them.
We can call them head ramming comps. That's fine.
So they went there for a different reason. So I just think it's important for the viewers at home to realize teams boot camp in specific places for specific reasons. Getting back to this draft, it's going to be Legacy on blue side, as we mentioned. It's going to be Zoe, Karma, as well as the Skarner taken away. So a lot of mid lane attention given to Luch. It's going to be Talia, Aurelia, as well as Rise taken away. So Rise hitting the bench.
Yes. Claire had a pretty rough game 1 on that one last week, so it's interesting to see it taken away. Still respected. I was going to say, patch 8.11, neither of these teams have really experimented. We saw the last set, Chiefs still playing weird things.
Yep.
Lulu can go anywhere. We've seen Bang play at mid lane in Korea. He can go support, like bot lane in the AD carry position, mid.
I don't know if the Chiefs played weird things, because I actually look at that and I think duo lane with 1 damage carry is not all that strange. The fact that it doesn't do AD damage, sure, but it's still like a ranged carry.
Yep.
I think that the real weird stuff is that dude on your screen that just got locked in, as well as the weird level 3 jungler that doesn't take smite. That's weird. And we've been seeing that a lot.
We have, I am saying weird as non-traditional AD carry support.
Sure.
I feel like there's a very defined meta and has been for a very long time.
Yeah, about 6 years.
Yes. And we're seeing that again. Get switched up here. Pyke, going to be the first time we've seen it. Was not available in week 1. So super interested. Rosie is absolutely the kind of player to just be the first one to play the new champion. Pyke was touted as melee bard over in North America, so it makes a lot of sense for Rosie to be the guy to pick it up.
LS actually has a really good video on it. He thinks that Pyke is like bard as well. And the way he describes it is, if you're a Pyke player, you're a Pyke player. There's a lot of nuances in towards the champion.
Yep.
It's an Aurelian Soul. It's a bard. You're going to have to play 1,000 hours of it. And the danger of champions like that is they get held on the fringe of meta, where a lot of the picks actually do what they do better. However, if you are able to get that extra 1% out, you can tip them over the edge. But it's a high risk, high reward kind of play style. Do you agree with that? Have you experimented with Pyke yet? Because you're a bard player. You're a red
I have
pants.
not. I've been gifted the Pyke champion because I don't have enough blue essence ever so graciously, but I haven't actually played him because he gets banned a lot. He's pretty good. Lane's pretty weirdly, as you mentioned, but I think it's a lot to be said. As we continue with the draft, we have Graves, we have Rakan, GP, fairly standard. There's a lot to be said as a professional player and the time invested in a champion like Pyke, right? Especially in a meta like this where weird things are happening. It's about, like, do you think it's going to stick around? Do you have the time to learn a champion like Pyke? Of course, you learn the things in solo queue and it's just very fun, so new champs like that do get picked up fairly often. But it's an interesting discussion to have.
I played with him the other day.
Yep.
And I didn't realize that his passive drops an item into your, like
your cut.
Yeah.
It's called your cut. Gives you a
But you have
sweet
to
amount
use
of gold.
it. I thought that, like, I was like, hey, I got I thought I was supposed to share this. Like, what the heck? There's no gold flashing above my head.
Oh.
Then I checked my items and I was like, hey, I have heaps of stuff.
Yeah, you
right,
got-
it's just sitting right there.
Yeah, I got a sick
like,
little
why
piggy
am I
bank
using this?
on my belt.
So for those at home that haven't played with a Pyke yet, your cut does get put into your inventory. Then when you use it, 300 gold just pops up nicely above your head.
Cheeky little 300 gold.
Yeah, it's going to be Jace as well as Mundo banned away. So Sleeping obviously valuing that Jace pickup we've seen in play.
And I want to talk about that because I personally think that Bombers index way too hard in split pushing top laners. We saw the Jace played last week, and we've seen them play Fiora as well. Sleeping is a big carry threat, but we've seen a full season where it hasn't really come together for them. It hasn't really worked, and they continue to play this non-traditional style and very difficult to pull off style. So when you watch the Bombers play, there's a huge deal of variance, and you can see a very good game and a very rough game, and there's not a lot of in-between, because it's very hard to have an okay game on something like Jace.
Completely agree. I also want to talk about Legacy's ban. A little bit surprised they banned away Lucian. Has historically been the best coupling with Lulu. How potentially Kai'Sa could fill that role. I still don't think it is to the same degree, however, just because Lucian's passive with health picks is actually just bonkers, damn busted.
Ooh.
And Rumble
That's not something we've seen too often.
was buffed. Big time.
That's going to go to Mimic as well. We haven't seen that from him yet, and that's going to be a Yasuo lock-in as well. They have the Rakan, so the synergy is there. And this is super interesting.
They've got a Wombo combo comp.
Yep.
You do not see Wombo combo comps all that often. And what we mean by that is if you all press R and there are 5 people underneath your R buttons, you're going to do a lot of damage.
Not to mention the enemy team. You look at the lineup of Bombers, they have a Pyke, Nocturne, GP, Ezreal. Sure, they're yet to pick their last champion, but that is not a tanky lineup. Wombo, they will one-shot you, and that's...
Ooh,
that
gauntlet
is brave.
thrown. if you do not kill Rakan before he gets in, the point of this pick is to one-hit the Rakan. If he dies, you win the team fight, because they have no other way to really start that off. But if he gets in, if he gets on the back line, as we saw Destiny do last game, that's a GG.
And there's also a point to be made, Legacy. 40 seconds left in the draft. You can put Lulu bottom, pair it with Rakan, and you can be okay. You can put Yasuo mid into the Syndra. Of course, right now they're hovering with the Lulu mid into the Syndra. And super interesting to see if they do switch that up, but it looks likely. Oh, they do. Last minute. They have until 20 seconds to lock it in, so they could switch back. And no. So that's Claire on the Yasuo and Raid on the Lulu.
And also interesting that it is an Ignite Yasuo, because Yasuo does very well with Exhaust. And the idea behind this matchup is obviously if you win Wall the ultimate, she does no damage.
0 damage.
However, also, if you're stunned, you can't get Win Wall out, and then you die to it. So Exhaust can be used during stunned. Not a lot of people know that.
Yep.
Something that is often overlooked. But talk to me about these comps. Both very squishy, Bryce. Who do you like?
Classic 8.11. I really like Legacies. I love seeing Rumble. Like that is a huge champion that has been, because of Banner of Command, just not in the game for a very long time. Now, I was talking about it last week. Now that it's kind of dealt with by both AP and AD champions alike, we might see a little bit of resurgence. And it's very cool to see a wombo comp. I feel like these kind of teeter off as the game goes on when you have something like an Ezreal, like a Gangplank Bombers. Once again, potentially have the scaling here. No AD carry on the lineup of Legacy, so we'll see how that fares tracking later on into the game.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting scaling advantage, because I think that in a straight 5v5, if everything goes perfectly, you can say that Bombers outscale because they've got Gangplank and things like that.
Yep.
However, if
Nothing
one
ever
thing
goes
goes
perfectly.
wrong, yeah, Legacy's comp is real easy to use, and I like that in a comp. We've talked about it a lot today, so we are going to get onto Summoner's Rift. Game 1 between Legacy and Bombers. Both of these teams searching for their first points in OPL Split 2. Neither of them would be happy with how Week 1 went. We are onto Summoner's Rift, joined by Soul Strikes, head coach of Legacy. Talk to us about Rumble. I know you're a Rumble fan. You like Rumble.
Yeah, I really like Rumble, and Mimic really likes Rumble as well. And this is like pre-buff Rumble. Rumble got buffed recently at 8.12, so yeah, we've been testing a lot of things.
And I want to ask, as Seb's just copping an absolute beating, about Rosie on the Pyke. Have you guys practiced much against Pyke? Of course, it was not available last week. And kind of where do you think it fits into the meta? Are you guys well-versed against it?
Yeah, we've actually scrimmed a lot of Pikes, and we've been playing Pikes as well ourselves. He's just a very interesting champ right now, because he's sort of like, he offers a lot of utility, like a lot of hooks, and even his ultimate gives gold to your allies. So he's a very interesting champ.
All right, cool. And I guess the last thing I want to hear from you is, how crazy do you think this meta is going to get? You obviously watch the LCK a lot. Like, do you think that we're done now and that it will start to normalize, or do you think that this is only just the beginning and League of Legends is going to get a whole lot weirder?
I think the only crazy part about it, about this meta, is like the double mid jungle. But I think the Vladimir, the Lulu, and the Ziggs even today, I think those are becoming more standard now.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Soul Strikes. Best of luck in this game. We'll jump back in. We saw that Seb actually got chunked out, but didn't go back to base, Bryce. So has lost both of his potions, which for a Nocturne against the Graves, that seems quite scary.
Yeah, lane priority on the top side of the map. Rumble is one of those champions that just pushes in absolutely constantly. If only can find his way into the jungle, should be able to bully out Seb. Range first melee advantage as Mimic going to do exactly that to Sleeping. Very nice harpoon.
Man,
and we see
rough.
Tiger's gone for the heal, so we have an actual fully traditional AD carry support bot lane. Strikes was talking about how Pyke is incredibly interesting. He is very weird and has a lot of weird spells. His hook is non-committal, like something like a Nautilus, like he brings you back rather than takes him in. He also has the dash, and he has the stealth as well. These are a lot of mechanics that supports just don't have in general, so adds a whole weird dynamic to the bottom lane.
He also doesn't get HP. I mean, it's something that if you read the patch notes, you obviously know, but if you don't, you don't. And the grey health that you're seeing is, actually Claire in big trouble here. Luch looking for it potentially. Also want to point out one thing. We talked about Spellbook. What's its place in the meta? Luch has a Spellbook, Bryce.
He does. He's got a TP, so
how does it work now?
He can swap into an Exhaust. Every couple of minutes you do get that charge. You don't have to be in the fountain. You can just swap into an Exhaust, into an Ignite, any summoner, into a Cleanse, things like that. When you maybe once you hit level 6, you're worried about getting roamed on, things like that. You can swap into a combat summoner. Means that Syndra, a champion that very poorly deals with side lane pressure later on into the game, can swap back to the TP, and just offers a lot of versatility to champions that don't necessarily have that.
We're going to see Summon Airy as Mimic's rune of choice. Obviously helps a little bit with the shielding.
It's super nice on Rumble because first of all, you're melee range. So when you do this, you Flame Spitter, you pick it back up, and then you re-proc area again. Because as soon as that little fox hits Mimic, it picks it back up, it can reapply it. So it's in terms of trading in lane, just very useful.
And Mimic is just being super obnoxious right now. You can see that he's got only in his lane. He's letting the wave push into him. And this is actually a Klepto gangplank, so really struggling with the sustain that we saw Chippies have a lot of ease dealing with.
And we've seen the junglers do the same thing, except Seb hasn't channeled his recall. He wants to be here so that Sleeping can try and push this wave in and counter gank if only looks for something. The Nocturne really shouldn't be able to lane gank a Rumble. He has the speed buff, he has the slow. GP Nocturne level 4 isn't really the scariest 2v2 to worry about, so nice block onto the stun, but it means Seb wastes a little bit more time than only on the top side of the map.
We see already a 10 CS lead in the mid lane is starting to open up. Once again, whenever we asked OPL mid laners last year who you do not like playing against, unanimously it was Luke. Obviously changed a little bit this year. He is slumping slightly, but historically he has been the most frustrating laner in the OPL.
Because he is a very strong laner, only looking for Seb. Do they burn the flash or anything? Rosie's looking up as well.
Once again, we're going to see a big engagement here. Tornado does come out. Decoy heads across. Is going to be dissuaded because Tiger just didn't rotate with his team.
Everything across the board does just get dodged by everyone. But talking back about Luch, he's a strong laner and plays...
Oh, actually, top lane going to be a dive. Both of them have to use their flash, but you think that that would suit Mimic just fine.
Mimic going incredibly aggressive onto Sleeping. No TP, whereas Mimic has his, so huge trade onto the GP who has the buy advantage. Now Mimic's got a back, TP back to the lane, get his own shop as well. Will mean he gets up in a little bit of experience, and he denies that from the gangplank, which is very well done.
Yeah, and as Rumble being able to hit level 6 early, even being able to walk this one back and hold it for potentially a bottom lane dive, something that we saw a lot out of Rumble, not going to do it, is a nice choice to be able to have.
I think I like that because of the fact that only has tempo onto Seb. He now has a level lead, stealing away that camp is up a few more as well. If he maintains the tempo on the top side of the map, Seb just doesn't get access there. Graves will bully Nocturne out of the jungle. He's now bullying Sleeping from his own turret, and Seb is on the bot-hand side. He can't even help.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see Sleeping doesn't have the ultimate, whilst the ultimate is there and available for Mimic.
This is huge. Barrel lands, but it does negligible damage. Mimic's just got to proxy the wave. This is a Rumble. Almost looking to sit between the turrets. Seb has had to walk all the way around the safe way to top lane to try and shepherd his top laner back to his turret, but that's probably going to lose him the red buff as well. Yeah,
you see right now they will look to continue this counter jungling. Seb has given away his location with... Well, actually, he does get the spell shield. Well, doesn't matter. All right, cool. Boots 2 on Rumble. Still hurt.
Takes a little bit of damage there, but Seb just doesn't want to be here. Like, he has literally nothing to do. There's no way he farms golems. There's no way Legacy let him do that. His red buff is gone, so he has to take another bad recall. He's still down in tempo. He's still down in CS. This is a very rough start for the Nocturne, who all he wants to do is farm
till 6. Charge does land. They get raid. However, no real engage here. And I feel like their bottom lane has to start doing something, because they can take chip damage. However, they're still getting pushed in, and Sleeping is getting destroyed top lane. Dive's going to come in here. He's got level 6 now. Will pop it. That's going to be Mimic picking up turret aggro. Uses the ultimate.
Whiff.
That is a whiff on both the ultis. Mimic going to fall down. First blood picked up for Sleeping.
Huge misplay out of Legacy. Rumble ulti goes wide. Only misses his as well, and he can't auto-attack the gangplank behind the turret. Remember, Graves can't hit through structures. Sleeping plays it well, and all of a sudden what was a huge advantage at the top side is still in favor of Legacy, but he picks up the kill, and he picks up the goal.
Yeah, and they're going to actually get themselves an Infernal Drake for it as well, if you don't mind. Everything going wrong right now for Legacy.
That is one of those situations where a slight mis-execution costs you doubly on both sides of the map. We're talking about the bot lane has to do something. It's very hard as a heal Ignite lane to aggress onto an exhaust Ignite lane because your heal is negated by that healing reduction of the Ignite. So all of a sudden they get the avenue to do that. Seb can farm his jungle, can take the dragon, and Sleeping wins out topside as well.
So what was a 20 CS lead is still going to be there, but the sheen is now picked up. And you can see that Sleeping, who was just sitting on a Null Magic Mantle, now is much happier in this matchup. should be able to push in a little bit easier.
He's going pretty safely here. This will bounce back eventually, but walks around the back way. Pink Ward's behind himself. Wants to know that Graves is nowhere to be found. No return gangs coming, but only finds himself on the bottom-hand side of the map, picking up his red buff. So ultimately, Sleeping will be completely okay to push that one in.
Luch still farming very well. Is 20 CS up. They're 300 gold plus a dragon in the lead. And really, if they just massage Sleeping through this early game, they are online for what is a very potent late game comp.
And this is the thing, if they can get through this early game, if they can scale up relatively safely, it's a huge deal. We haven't seen too much strong laning out of the lineup recently, so for Bombers, this is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see bottom lane going in favor of the Bombers slightly. Mid lane heavily in favor of the Bombers. Top lane is honestly still a wash. You can see Sleeping is walking up with creep waves. He is terrified of where Yasuo could have been, where Graves could have been. Just doesn't want anything to do with it, Bryce.
Seb, level 6 still, but was on the bottom-hand side of the map. So with no jungler, Sleeping is just incredibly scared. Luch still backing away. Has used the spellbook to go for a barrier. Wants to deal with the all-in potential, something like a Graves Yasuo. If the knock-up doesn't land, then there's no way Claire can get onto the Syndra. But if it does, you have collateral damage that can just fling in from anywhere in the side lane. So the straight-up shield of the barrier might just be enough to keep him alive.
Yeah, completely agree with you. And when you have a look at the fact that now Seb has regained control of his topside jungle, got a nice pink ward out, is still 2 levels down, but at least has vision of where Graves is.
And there is potential for this top 2v2 to actually work. Mimic still has a very short amount of cooldown on
Only
his
right
flash.
now. Only is going to be pincered. Ultimate comes in, flashes the wall. Seb tries to go over, but messes it up slightly. Spell shield, so he doesn't go with him. That is just everything going wrong. Right now, you can see Claire has been pulled back towards his team, put actually on the wrong side of his wind wall. Wind wall is going to not block the damage. Rosie goes for it as well, gets 1 reset. Did he get the 2nd reset? No, he did not. Over the wall goes Luch, however, looking for an auto attack. We'll be able to get it now. They can see the Rumble is there trying to clean up. We'll get some damage down, however, he's just 1 between 3. Damage is going to be there. Double kill for the Bombers mid laner, and Luch is now massive.
And it turns into an absolute disaster for Legacy. What started with a misplay out of Seb actually ends up benefiting the lineup of the Bombers. Very Low does not want to die to the Gromp. Smite will keep him alive, but he does just back away. But all of a sudden, topside was disastrous for this lineup. Sleeping, getting shoved in, no access to waves. Gets that first blood. They turn it around. Now 4-0 in kills in favor of the Bombers.
Yeah, and they're 2,000 gold up. And the best thing for Rosie is his roam paid off. He left bottom lane. That was a big risk because that was the only lane that were really keeping even. And now he's able to get here and have a big impact.
And everything went wrong for Seb. He flashes slightly too late for this, so the tether doesn't stick. Spell shield's on the plant. But Rosie gets in behind. This is very nice play around the wind wall. He knows Claire needs to hold it for the direction of Luch, so he buffers on the backside of the Yasuo. Plant does not actually get procced, so Yasuo falls down. He doesn't get the reset on the ulti, unfortunately for Rosie. It comes out slightly too late, but barrier keeps Luch alive, and all of a sudden, that's a 20-second death timer for the Yasuo.
Yeah, it certainly is a bummer. Outplayed, obviously, somewhere along the line.
Didn't even hit the big ult button. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was going for that one, but no, absolutely. We talked about Spellbook, and you can take TP later, you can take Exhaust, but he just straight up doesn't need Flash. He's like, I have 2 kills, I have the Luden's Buy, I want to fight you. Swaps out the Flash for the Summoner, and we're going to see it again. Stun lands.
Just auto attacks with red buff.
Yep. And you can't win wall a Q, so he he just dies.
And he had Flash and Ultimate available. That was the sad
everything.
thing. He could have just used it on him. And mid lane turret now is a disaster.
And that's just very...
Okay, going to get stunned up. Is a flip going to land? No, it is not. Just instead stabs him.
They turn
in goes Decoy. TP's coming out. Only is here as well. That is going to be a huge ultimate out of Mimic. They can see that they're trying to get Rosie back. Mimic, big damage going to come out of Luch. Mimic will not fall down because he has the Hourglass. That's an overreach from Luch. Now only taking some damage on the back end as well. Raid still there. Stun will miss. In the river, however, Seb has been cut off. And top lane turret now taking serious damage.
Yeah, Sleeping, the beneficiary of this, doesn't have to TP bot, just gets to farm his way back in. Only 10 CS in a hole right now. That is the pick onto Rosie. Unfortunately for him, Pyke's Grey Health only heals him back when he's out of vision, so he falls down very quickly. And everything settles back down.
And I love that call from Sleeping. Honestly, if he didn't have the ultimate available, Gangplank teleporting in has no impact.
Yep.
you have to be there way before the fight starts.
You have to channel the TP, you have to land, you have to set up a barrel, you have to set up another barrel, hope that the team is still standing where you TP'd to, and then you're useful.
Oh, in they go, mid lane. You can see already Windwall has not been useful here. One more time he's going to fall down. This time Seb will grab the kill. And the mid lane, Claire is getting bullied.
0-3 and 0 on the Yasuo, falling incredibly far behind. Once again, Luch, it was a 2v1, but he didn't have to use the ulti again, so he can now threaten only who's trying to defend the turret. He still has kill threat. And Bombers...
Oh, actually pulls Decoy in. That is such a cute interaction. Dragon will be aggroed, and I think they can just start this one up.
And the RNG gods have blessed the Bombers lineup here, because that's a double Infernal, that after that mid-kill will be going over to them. Very nice, especially for someone like this.
Sleeping, looking to be dove top lane, still has the ultimate. We've seen this go on poorly one time for Legacy already. Do they want to try a repeat of it?
They have no way. Now, level 10 has the ability to clear those ones out, and only just not in position in time to pull the trigger on that wave, so they have to wait so long, so they just scrap it all together.
40 CS and 3 kills. Claire blocks out the stun, however, now he's in trouble to the ultimate. Doesn't commit Luch.
And he does block the stun, as that is Wild Growth, burn onto Raid to keep himself alive, but every time Claire uses the Wind Wall, if there's still a wave left in the mid lane, he just cannot contest. He cannot walk up. Even if the stun's not there, Luch is so far ahead, has now swapped to the Ignite, so he wants those kills. You know exactly what Luch is going for. The 1v1 pressure.
He wants a 10-stack Dark Seal. That's what he wants.
Yes, he does. And then he wants to upgrade it to a 25-stack Medjay. That'd be the ideal situation.
And you know what? I, for one, would be very happy if he got it. Luch has had a rough year so far. And I think that, I mean, we said it. This game has taken a little bit of luck, a little bit of mis-execution from Legacy, but Bombers are going to need that if they want to get their season back on track. You can see that only spotted out on a ward. They're hovering Mimic down as well. Oh, Luch, a little bit of trouble here. Just 5 members converging on him.
Does have Flash available, so Syndra pretty immobile, but with that, we'll be able to get out of a single Rumble ultimate. And you talk about needing that, right? Like, confidence is a very big thing for a professional player. To be able to come in here, Legacy, very good gauntlet run last split for Bombers to, after a rough first game against Mammoth, pick up a win here. That means so much for the players individually and as a group in terms of how they're improving over this course of events. As that's a roam. That's going to be a free mid-turret taken down.
Yeah, and I love the response here. They see so many members of Legacy rotate towards bottom lane. They push out their waves. They know that eventually they're going to have to come back for it. So they cheat tempo, right? They get mid lane turret, they get Herald.
They get double. Turret and a Herald. Seb's going to pick that one up, has the enhanced recall if he wants to use it, and they're actually opting in for the swap. Of course, Gangplank, one of the best champions. Rumble is pretty good as well. Has to be a little closer, but does deal with most of the wave. They should be fine to tank this one up. You got a Lulu, you got a Rakan, you got shields for days, so they will be fine.
That was
pretty nifty.
Yeah.
Pretty nifty. They do trade it on the opposite side of the map. So gold lead, just over 3,000 in the favor of the Bombers. Approaching 20 minutes with a double Infernal Drake. Syndra 3, 0, and 2 is a scary prospect for Legacy because they don't have tanks. They have a Graves jungle, they have a Rakan support, and they have Mimic on Rumble in the top lane. They have no front line to deal with any of this damage that's going to be coming out of League.
And as this game progresses, stopwatches become very important.
Yep.
I would argue that Claire probably needs to grab one. I'd argue that the Lulu probably doesn't, but Graves probably should. Because if Luch continues to just get picks in Fog of War and you're not able to stopwatch that ultimate, that's how you win a team fight right now. So much of the gold lead is on Luch. If you make his ultimate useless, then there is a potential you can still turn it.
Absolutely, as Claire trying to get some vision control around the mid lane. Bombers have flipped the lane, so pressuring on the top side. Decoy's looking. He doesn't have flash just yet, but in about 10 seconds it will be available. They get onto Loose. There is one-shot potential.
Only well scouted again, however. They saw Seb spotting out Claire. You can see bottom lane, however, rotating top lane is looking for the engage.
Oh, Decoy actually looks like he wants this.
Yeah, actually goes in for it. That's going to be the Yasuo. Already exhaust down, flash away. Oh. That is going to be the kill picked up. Darkness channeled. In they go, looking for a big damage out of Seb. However, that will be all. Decoy now face checking. Oh, that is such a dangerous play, Decoy. That is not the play you're looking for. 10 stacks now picked up on the Dark Shield, and Luch grabs another kill.
They turn it into a 1-for-1 there. Even it out. Tiger's actually gone for the Frozen Fist. Hasn't gone for the Triforce into the double tier stack that we normally see. Wants a little bit more defensive against a Yasuo, against a Graves, things like that. But Mimic actually completed his TP. And that's what I want to talk about. Because Sleeping lands, and all of a sudden they fall down. Seb has to go in, but they can't follow it up because it's a 4v5. But Mimic actually commits despite not getting anything. So we see this one once again. Very easy combo onto Tiger, but he is tanky from that Frozen Fist. He goes down quite late. Sleeping, you see land. Seb goes in, but immediately backs away because there's nothing else he can do, and they wait for the Syndra. They do well to trade 1-for-1 because right now it's a bit of a rough situation. Decoy, as you mentioned, just face checks the river. Luch, cool guys don't look at little ghosty orbs killing Rakans.
I mean, he still had flash, and Decoy once again looking for a face check. Rosie
He's all over
held
the map.
that one for a little bit too long, but that's okay. Miss 100% of shots you don't take.
And this is the classic Rosie playstyle. He's not the kind of player that wants to just sit in a lane and poke you and hit your turret and just defend an AD carry. He's a Bard player, he's a Pyke player, he wants to be able to be free from this. Ezreal, one of the best AD carries, are just being left in a side lane alone, so it opens him up. Going for the early Moby's purchase and is constantly looking for picks.
Is he going Sterix Rush?
I think so. It's interesting.
Obviously doesn't feel like he's far enough ahead for the double lethality build to come out, so goes with Sterix.
We see a lot of Gargoyle as well, like going Aftershock into pure tank items. Of course, your HP scaling is actually incredibly good. You can't build HP, but in terms of the base stats you receive is better than something like an Alistar. So if you get to late game, you don't really talk about late game in terms of supports, but once you get those levels, you can end up pretty tanky with stack and resist.
Yep, completely agree. Not to mention he has a great health mechanic. So even though HP doesn't benefit him directly, resists certainly do. See another dragon spawning. I think that's why they dropped Herald top. This would be the third Infernal, so they cannot respond to that Herald. It's going to be a free turret if they just leave it here.
Rumble was known for a very long time as one of the best champions around the Dragon Pit, but that's going to be a hook onto Claire. Blows the wind wall. That's a big deal. If Bombers can get a fight right now, if they can force Legacy to
Only's
engage.
being cut off. He's actually in such a strange position right now. You can see that the barrel's going to come out. He has to go over the wall. That is a big stun onto Mimic, and that should just be the Dragon going across to the Bombers.
No vision, no way to contest. They have to deal with the Rift Herald in the top lane. That's triple Infernal. They have a Gangplank, Syndra, Nocturne. They have so many just stacking champions. That's a big deal. It's not like this is a tank composition where only one person is benefiting. Every champion, even the support, is benefiting from the Infernal stack.
And the scary thing is there's still so much standing gold available for the Bombers to take for relatively free. You cannot defend the siege at this stage because if Raid, who's got very short range, gets hit by one stray orb, he'll just die to Luch.
We see this a lot with the Lulu. You go for that Ardent Sense a second, so in terms of an AP threat, it does give you a little bit, but it's not as much as going for a Death Cap, going for Void Stuff, or a traditional AP mage build. You go kind of half support, half AP. Wants to be able to buff up Claire, but if that's your plan, that's a 0-3 Yasuo. Approaching 20 minutes into the game against triple Infernal, that's a pretty rough prospect.
However, some nice macro play coming out of Legacy right now. They push in mid lane, they take a top lane turret. Very good map read right now. They're stacking a brush, looking for something. They are desperate right now.
They know somebody needs to answer this wave. This will eventually push into the inner. They're hoping it's Syndra, and Luch is actually going. It has heal now, swapped in with a spellbook, but if they stick around for enough time, they will find themselves a Syndra. Can they execute on the play?
They're just catching it right at the turret.
Bombers know something's up.
Oh, he actually
that's a
used
stun.
it. Cannot go too much closer. Bryce, I'm scared.
He's playing it very defensively. He used the stun, but Legacy, I think enough is enough, but there's a lot of members from Bombers here. There will be a 4-for-4.
I wonder if they just drop the ultimate and try and go for it. No, they don't. Bombers also playing quite disciplined.
Yep.
I'm surprised by that.
Seb has the stopwatch, so if he screams darkness and jumps into 5 people, everything goes dark, and he goes real bloody shiny.
The Nocturne Messiah.
That's I call things budget Messiah. That's like budget Messiah.
That really is the budget.
Because it's the whole time that you're flying in off the side of the screen. It's not like you teleport and appear into the middle of 5 people. You come zooming in from the side. Go golden. But, of course, 23 minutes into the game now. Baron is up. Bombers leveraging their gold lead to get some control around the objective.
Don't really know if they can do Baron.
They're pretty squishy.
They are a very squishy lineup.
They wish Legacy thinks that they can do the Baron, and they face check, and then they get a big Syndra stun on a choke point, but have to see if that happens. Hook.
What a strange hook animation.
Pretty weird. It's It's a weird hook. Like, what is he holding? Is it like a dagger?
It's like a dagger on a chain.
Yeah, okay. That's an odd one. It's like a lasso, you know what I mean? Like he flings it around and it hooks onto you.
I'm sure there is a proper name for those items, and once again, we're going to get flamed. But a dagger on a chain sounds good. Oh, actually, Tiger goes in. That's
Paranoia.
going to be Paranoia as well. Big ultimate coming out. However, stopwatch
Big
still
stun.
up.
Oh,
Stun
no.
misses. And now on the back
Oh.
end of it, Luch falling very low. Is exhausted, falls down. Decoy now goes for the re-engage. Sleeping is here. Claire running over the team fight. Mimic on the back line as well. Very nicely played. And Rosie actually misses the ultimate. This is Legacy running away with a team fight. One member goes down. Mimic should go down as well. No, the shield comes out of raid. Very nice.
And a gold deficit for Legacy. Triple Infernal, 24 minutes into the game, and somehow they win that team fight. They get onto Luch. Exhaust goes down. He can't dish out any damage. Bombers just overcommit too far into the mid lane and Legacy punish.
Yeah, he needs cleanse.
And a few big things happen. First of all, Seb uses his ulti at the start of the fight. He's now a Nocturne useless. Syndra didn't have an orb when he went for the stun, and Windwall blocks the entire ultimate. So Nocturne, Syndra, at this point in the fight are absolutely useless. That means Legacy can spend multiple members dealing with sleeping, and Mimic on the backline is just popping off.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that he perfectly Zonya's that ult as well. Rosie, actually, nicely done. Luch is going to shut him down. Go back to 10 stacks on the Dark Seal.
Back to where he wants to be, so a nice pickup for Bombers. Of course, 25 minutes into the game now.
Oh, Decoy
Baron
is
is a rough
once
objective
again
for both
going
teams.
to be caught out if he is not careful. Rosie is very quick. Is looking for him. You can see Iceborne Gauntlet user there as well. Does get the dash away.
Good guy Raid comes over and helps his teammate. Of course, Rosie using the E-dash to get a little bit closer so that he can stay in range of Rakan while he charges his Q.
But now they have to face check, Bryce.
Yep.
And you mentioned this already. This is exactly where they want them. Actually,
here
they
he
go
goes.
in for it. That is a big ultimate
Ooh.
again. And Tiger snipes him.
Last time they went on to Lulu. This time they go into Rakan. He dies immediately. Q, Mystic Shot lands from Tiger.
And one thing I will
they
say
start it?
is
They do.
even though they're not tanky, they do it very quickly, Bryce. So this will fall down very, very quickly.
Mimic is TPing into the mid lane,
Rosie
but
is
if they hard
behind
commit,
enemy lines. Will look for the stun. Will be able to land it. That is going to be Claire. Gets the wind wall out nice and early. Now Rosie will fall down. And that's again just confusion out of the Bombers lineup.
behind enemy lines turns into a suicide mission. Loses his life. There is now, without all 5 members, going to be a little rough for Bombers to continue any sort of pressure around the Baron, so they lose a structure for it as well. Everything backs away.
And I feel like Bombers are a comp that must hard commit.
Yep.
If they don't use everything, they're not going to get it done. And that time, you saw that Gangplank ultimate wasn't dropped. Luch doesn't have flash, so he can't flash ulti or anything like that. Windwall really stifled the aggression. And that buys Legacy a little bit more time. They're still within 3,000 gold. This game is far from over when it feels like Bombers have had control for the last 20 minutes.
And that's the interesting thing, right? Like, Claire has been put in a huge hole this game. 40 CS down still. Now has his 2 items, so he's approaching a point where he's actually starting to deal relevant damage. But despite all of that, if he just win walls a Syndra ulti, all of a sudden Luch does nothing, and he will always be relevant. So these team fights are going to be incredibly close, I think, as the game goes on, because Claire has the option to completely shut down his opponent.
Completely agree, and I think at the same time that this is a greedy build out of Luch. This is something we don't normally see from a Syndra, because at this point, he is probably overkilling someone with a full combo. You need to have things like the Zonya's Hourglass, like the Banshee's
We see a lot of Banshees, especially into something like a Rakan, right? That's Legacy's main form of engage. Graves isn't going to do anything. You drop a Rumble ulti by itself, Bomber's just going to walk away. It's all on Decoy to be able to land onto the Syndra, to land onto the Ezreal. That starts the fights, and once again, we saw it from the Chiefs earlier today. When it hits, it really hits. When it misses, everything falls apart.
Yeah, and as soon as Decoy misses, he should just die to Syndra. So
Hit him with the R, hit him with the E.
Absolutely.
Goodbye.
You don't even have to have orbs down, really. R out first is going to guarantee a stun. Damage starting to come out of Raid as well. Saw that there onto Tiger.
He has gone for the double tier. We see some Ezreals toy with the idea of not building that one, as they're actually going to start up the Baron here. Spellfield is blown by Seb, but doesn't get blocked by the Baron auto.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. You can see how low Seb is going already. This team fight is not going to benefit him at all. You can see they're staying on it. They're trying
Claire
to bait
sees them.
it out. Claire does see 2 members, so once again, they have to pull away.
And that's a very nice read. They use the blue orb into the Baron pit, and they notice 2 members are not there. Claire decides where can they be. There's only one spot looking for the pick. Bombers had no business starting that one up and continuing the fight. All they were doing was baiting Legacy into the river and looking for
And
a
now
fight.
Raid goes in, flashes
Ooh.
forward actually onto Tiger. Hook does land. They do not get anyone.
get
Flash
him.
forward. Snipe is there, only with a huge play.
And a cheeky kill onto the Ezreal. All of a sudden, Legacy, despite the goal deficit, once again find themselves in control.
And the Bombers are just kind of toying around where they shouldn't be. They should be setting up around Dragons. They should be trying to push out waves. Right now, Sleeping is so massive. He can take Mimic in the side lane, but they keep going back to this Baron, and it is not working.
And ease of execution is something I have to bring up. This is once again a very squishy composition. The tankiest member on their team when trying to do a Baron is a Gangplank. That's all they have. They have no reliable ways of starting a fight. It requires a pick from Rosie. Seb can go in by himself, but now that his stopwatch is blown, there's no way he comes out on the other side alive. So it's very difficult to play the game that the Bombers want to play with this composition, and you're seeing it sort of flounder here.
Yeah, more than sort of flounder. They've been at this point ahead for the last 10 minutes, and they've got nothing. Now they pick themselves up a Dragon. At the same time, we're still allowing a Yasuo to scale, a Rumble to scale. And these champions, you normally talk about getting outscaled just because of the fact that they don't deal with tanky front lines all that well. Well, there is no tanky front line this game.
If you're a damage dealer and you're hitting carries,
You're happy.
you do a lot of damage.
Both of these teams just kill each other.
Yeah. That's just, like, if you looked at any game, like, if you just picked a random 8.11 VOD, like, you could just be like, I want that one. And it's like, wow, both teams just want to kill each other a lot. That's what happens.
It's like solo queue has really just become competitive.
I was saying this earlier today. I love the fact that Reddit memes are now becoming legitimate strategies. Yi Tarek is something that is only ever seen in solo queue and has been brought to competitive. And there's some random Redditor out there that's like, just pick Fiddlesticks, dude. He Highlanders in, he just zooms away when you fear him. That sounds perfect to me. That's genius. But now
Certainly
Legacy.
is. Genius on the Baron start because they know
Rosie's
Sleeping
flanking.
is bottom lane. Rosie is flanking. They will peel back slowly. Stun misses everyone. However, that is once again a fizzled Baron play. They do get the teleport out. However, it was cancelled from Sleeping.
And our Pyke flanking is weird, right? Because it's not like an Alistar where you have to respect it and he's going to combo into you and then walk to his team. Rosie on the complete other side of the rest of his teammates, like, he's going to hook people towards him and then he's got no options. If he has to use his ulti as a gap closer, then that's not the situation you want to be in. Bombers do well to dissuade the attempted Baron. But ultimately, they are finding it incredibly hard to find the fights they want.
And Only is starting to get pretty far ahead. He's 60 CS up. You can see that he's a level in it ahead as well. However, this is going to be another Baron start just for something different. Both of the teams, they actually use the Fear Tether on the Baron. They really want this one. It's not going to happen. Mimic drops a huge ultimate. Seb's going to fall down. Tiger also very low, and there is nothing they can do right now. This is a complete capitulation of the Bombers lineup. You can see Decoy wants it. On the back line is Luch. Gets a two-person stun. Will dissuade it for now. But, I mean, Seb has to go back to base, and Legacy can just start Baron.
Seb was on literally like 1 HP, has to recall. You mentioned Luch stun, does land onto Only, but no follow-up damage.
Barrel over the wall could do big damage. Once again, Only gets picked up. And they will have to just run towards this mid lane. But these comps are going nowhere in a hurry, bro.
And this random Rumble pick is doing so much work. He TPs in around the Baron to the blue buff, all of a sudden just wipes the floor with everyone on Bombers. They have to scatter. No tanks on their lineup means they get low from Baron. If you have to tank a Rumble ulti as well, he's hit level 15. He's almost going to hit that level 16 point where he will be strongest.
And this game is just crazy. I mean, there's no other way to really put it. It's just been a tug of war with seemingly no one coming out the victor.
Very luckily for Bombers, Decoy burned his flash. And all they really got was that pick onto the bottom lane and Seb backed away. Legacy couldn't commit to continue onto the Baron, so the major engage tool of Legacy is now on cooldown for about another 4 minutes, so a bit of respite, but Bombers don't really want to wait.
Yeah, absolutely not. They have shown time and time again that they're impatient to win this game, and that impatience is costing them. Luch is pretty much, I mean, he's getting towards 5 items. He has 1.5 more items he can buy, and then he's going to be done. Mimic, kind of in the same situation. However, you think that if he goes for something like a Rylai's, could be a big game changer of an item right now.
Rylai's, Leandries, things like that. Old school Rumble items. He's got the core, he has the Void stuff, he has the Empan, and he has the Zhonya's. It's
probably going to go for Death Cap.
Yep.
I would like to
Flat
see a
damage.
Rylai's last item, just because we've already said the one struggle they have is getting the engage. And he already does enough damage. Once again, it's very squishy comps.
Not to mention, when you look at the composition, a lot of top laners have dashes. A lot of mid laners have dashes. A lot of junglers also have dashes. If you look at Bombers, the top 3 champions on their lineup do not have dashes. So Rumble ulti gets extra value there, especially with a Rylai's.
They're looking for a hook here. They will not land it. When Wall comes out, however, stun narrowly missing. Luch goes fishing with a fisherman in Pyke, and unfortunately, both of them come back with no dinner.
No clapping cheeks for Rosie here. But everyone's getting pretty frisky with their CC hit. Windwall did come out, stun does come out.
And
We'll
this
be
is
back
just
on
a
board
hard
with
commit.
Syndra.
They are not
7K.
pulling off this one. The hook does land. He has to use his shield to get out. Big ultimate is there. Another wind wall. And they throw every ability they have into it just for the heck of it. And this is the disengage.
Everyone walks away once again. 5 versus 5 on your screen. Mid priority is going to go over to Bombers, so maybe just pick up a turret. Legacy actually stay. They know they're now behind the Bombers lineup. They're on the wrong side of the map. They've switched. Luch is not on vision. But Decoy playing very tentative here.
Yeah, absolutely. Decoy nearly got
uses the
stunned up there.
W.
Has to use the battle dance to get back into Baron. And now they've funneled themselves into the pit. That barrel will land. And now the stun also
That's locked
hits. One punch. They get it. But that's a huge amount of damage on the back line. What is actually happening in this fight? Everyone just dies, and it looks like it is going to be the Bombers coming out
Can
ahead.
he live? Rosie's
Baron
looking for him.
over
Flashes,
the wall.
but
They
he
actually
does.
gets it. See whether he can pick up the kill. One more auto attack would do it, however. Does not want to commit. You can see he wants to get out of sight and just wants to delay the back here.
He doesn't win the 1v1, only healing up off the camps over time. He's just delaying for the rest of his team to push. Legacy, they get the Baron, but without only being able to recall, there's no way to defend the base.
And this might actually be the game. You can see the Bombers right now, 3 major damage dealers, 20 seconds left, and only cannot recall. Sleeping is going to tank up the turret. Needs to be a bit more careful. Actually will get the heal out, and this is it. This is going to be the Bombers picking up game 1 against Legacy. I don't know how they won that team fight, but they bloody well did, and they get some points on the board.
Such a weird game. So many Baron starts and so little Baron finishes. Legacy, eventually, we're talking about Bombers and Impatience. They get in the pit. All of a sudden, Luch is able to deal so much damage. The Gangplank as well. They wipe the floor. Only can't base. The immediate end of the game.
I have to see that team fight again.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. Like, they all walked into Baron. Abilities flew everywhere.
Yep.
There was no semblance of CC. And then somehow 5 members of the Bombers lived.
I think the big thing was the W from Decoy. I don't think he landed CC in that part because he had to W back into the pit away from the Syndra. So Legacy's engage doesn't start. Yasuo doesn't get a knock-up. There's no disruption, things like that. And they just went from 100 to 0. Like, literally, Legacy is standing in the pit, immediately die.
Well, standing behind Baron, when you're a squishy comp, already does a lot of damage.
It does.
I think they were hoping for maybe a perfect knock-up from a Lulu ulti into, like, a huge Yasuo last breath, but none of that seemed to come out.
Because, like, both teams are very good in
Or maybe
chokes.
it did. I just didn't see.
If you're in the Baron pit, like, Windwall can just block the choke. Like, nobody can throw damage through, right? But then, and you have, like, a Rumble on the other side that can just, like, throw an equalizer over the top of everyone. But, yeah, like you said, have to see that one again. Super weird game. Super indecisive game. But Bombers, they get the points.
Yeah, they certainly do. Let's bring up that last replay. Let's take a look at it. Maybe let's throw it in, like, half speed or something. I don't know, Bryce. Take us through.
Because the W is not available, and Locket goes through. Windwall is burnt early. Nocturne ulti comes through. 1500, the smite lands.
That's a bad ultimate from the Rumble.
Yep, that hits absolutely no one. 3 members of Bombers are not even on top of it.
Yeah, once again, as I said, last breath didn't go off, it didn't look like. There's no good ultimates used there, and they get clean.
And Syndra stun was going to hit like 5 people, and then it still went through, and they flashed over the wall, and it still hit them on the other side of the wall.
Well, I guess the thing about a Wombo combo comp is we always say if you land all 5 of the ultimates, it looks spectacular. Well, that's what it looks like, unfortunately, when you don't land all 5 of the ultimates. You get cleaned up.
Yeah, you do. And you lose a Baron, and unfortunately, you lose the game.
But both of those teams, it kind of was like there was a gentleman's agreement that the way this game is going to end is around Baron. No one's going to play towards a 1-3-1. No one's going to, try and siege out turrets. It was everyone go to Baron, and we'll just continue to brawl.
Because that's the thing, right? Like, it's a super weird dynamic where Legacy should have the better 1-3-1. Rumble has priority in the side lane, and Yasuo, despite being behind, wants to be in a side lane where Syndra does it. So Bombers want to set up around the Baron. They want to force a team fight, but then they're like, look, Like, it's a Lulu bottom lane, Rakan, like Legacy want a Wombo, so they have the better 1-3-1, but you also don't really want to like 5v5 them around the Baron pit, so it's a super frustrating game, I think, for Bombers to try and even like they don't have an avenue per se.
Yeah, but potentially some of the frustration gone because they now pick up a win. They're looking for that 2-0. We're going to throw it over the hangar after some quick highlights. We'll have some more League of Legends coming your way. Going to be Mimic picking up turret aggro, uses the ultimate.
Whiff.
That is a whiff on both the ultis.
Ooh.
Mimic going to fall down. First blood picked up for sleeping. Rosie goes for as well, gets one reset. Did he get the second reset? No, he did not. Over the wall goes Luch, however, looking for an auto attack. We'll be able to get it now. They can see the Rumble is there trying to clean up. We'll get some damage down, however, he's just 1 between 3. Damage is going to be there. Double kill. Big ultimate coming out, however, stopwatch still up. Stun misses. And now on the back end of it, Luch falling very low. Is exhausted, falls down. Decoy now goes for the re-engage. Sleeping is here. Claire running over the team fight. Mimic on the back line as well. Very nicely played. Actually, they go in for it. That is a big ultimate again. And Tiger snipes him. And now the stun also hits. One punch. They get it. But that's a huge amount of damage on the back line. What is actually happening in this fight? Everyone just dies, and it looks like it is going to be the Bombers coming out ahead. And this is it. This is going to be the Bombers picking up game 1 against Legacy. I don't know how they won that team fight, but they bloody well did, and they get some points on the board.
Aaron, Jake said it at the desk. I feel like that game went on and on and on,